How you guys doing? This is Dell from Indie Review, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Tascam Mixcast 4. It's a podcast mixer. Let's get to the product review. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Tascam Mixcast 4. I've talked about this podcast mixer a lot on my channel on different reviews. I've mentioned it. I had originally meant to do it a review of it when I first got it a while ago. This is my initial review of this mixer right here. You want to see the inputs. It has 4 mic inputs. Can you see? It has 4 mic inputs and 4 headphone jacks for those who are on the podcast who are gonna have the headphones. It can actually also be used as an audio interface. I use it with Studio One version 7, and it also has a line-in jack right here. You can put a 1/4-inch cable, like a 1/4-inch cable. Here's a kicker. You don't have to do that because this mixer also has built-in Bluetooth, and the Bluetooth mixer is for both playing music and receiving phone calls. So if you want someone to call in onto your podcast, they could actually do that with this right here, a mixer. So, and I'm gonna go over this mixer on the screen. I just wanted to kind of give a brief description of it. It does have a screen right here, a built-in screen. So I would say that this podcast mixer is both digital and analog. So you've got the faders right here, the different faders right here. You have knobs for the volume, for the headphones, and for the monitor. You have pads right here that you could actually put different sounds on. And so let's get to the me showing you how to use it. Like I said before, this is the Tascam Mixcast 4. It's a podcast mixer. I would probably put it in the same line as like the Rode Pod or whatever that mixer is called. They all pretty much do the same thing. One of the things that I will say about this podcast mixer is that it actually has very great preamps. That's one of the things that I'll say off the rip that I can notice is that the preamps on this mixer is superb. So let me go over real quick. I don't want to talk. You came here for a demonstration, so let me show you. So right here is channel 1, 2, 3, and 4. These 4 channels are for microphone inputs. You can also use it. I've used it with my DJ controller. I have the Rain 1. I've used it with that as well. Again, this is a podcast mixer, but it's still a mixer. For those who are wondering what that is, just be able to put in different inputs with it. I'm not sure about instrument. I don't see why you wouldn't be able to, but I don't really deal with instruments. I mainly deal with audio, video, and every now and then I have clients that will send me music to mix and master. So I deal with that. So I don't really deal with instruments. So if you're looking for instruments, I would say your best bet is probably to look that up. I'm sure it can. If it can do a DJ turntable, I'm sure it can do instruments as well. Besides, it's just again, it's just a mixer. So your four channel 1, 2, 3, and 4, that is your microphone input. And right here, if you can see it, it actually has a USB on it, a picture of a USB. That is, if you connect it to your computer and begin to use it as an audio interface, that would be how you control that right there, this right here. So if you were to plug this up to your computer would register it as an audio interface. Because again, I used it. I have Studio One version 7. I use it with that all the time to before I moved it downstairs to edit podcasts and video. So that does work. This is your volume. This right here is your volume for phone. If you are to have use the input right here on the back for your phone, which would be wire, you can use your phone, or maybe you might want to put in your iPad or something. All you would need 1/4-inch. It's a Y cable, and the specific Y cable that you would want to get would be 2 1/4-inch and to a Y cable, which would be 3.5 millimeter jack. Or I'm sure nowadays you could buy 2 1/4-inch, a Y cable that's 2 1/4-inch to Type C output. So you wouldn't even have to buy the converter. You just get the Type C. So this right here is Bluetooth. It does play audio from the phone. It also does receive phone calls. If someone calls you It would also pick up. And one of the things that I want to mention too is that this podcast mixer does is that I'm not sure what it's called, but usually you know how when someone calls you, this is kind of echoey. Well, this mixer actually has something built into it that actually kind of eliminates that. So if someone called you, the only thing they would hear would be what you're hearing, what you're hearing right now from the microphone going to the mixer to the camera, which would be just the microphone audio. So they wouldn't hear any kind of feedback, and neither would you. So that's one of the great features about it. I have used it before. A previous podcast many years ago. I had this podcast mixer about 2 years. If I didn't say, I've had it for 2 years. So let's move on to the functionalities right here. They also have pads right here. They also have pads right here. Different sound effects. You can actually, from your computer, if you hook it up to your computer, you can actually upload certain sounds that you may want. Right here is alarm. Here's an air horn. And the last one, I don't have any effects. Like I said, I don't use the effects. So I actually, whatever came pre-installed in here from the factory is what I left. And you can have many channels. You can have up to 8 pages of effects. Like right here to page 1. So this is actually page 0, page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if you're someone who actually you do deal heavy with effects, you have 8 pages where you can just put effects. You can go effect crazy if you choose to. Again, I don't deal with effects. That's not really my thing. But if you do, that's wonderful for you. Now, let's get to the effects of this mixer right here. One of the things that I love about this mixer right here, and I'll show you real quick while I'm talking. At one point, I was actually playing my DJ turntables, the Rain 1 on channel 3 and 4, and it was too loud. I'm like, why is this so freaking loud for? And I couldn't figure it out why. And one of the things I didn't realize was that right here on channel 1, I'll show you real quick. You see, it's right now. It's on 20. If I turn that down, nothing. You see, if I turn that down, you don't hear anything. So right now, I'll turn it all the way up. Put it back on 20. But the reason why that's good is because right here, I have a channel. My channel is between -5 and -10. Right here is 0. So if you actually were doing something, or maybe again going back to the instrument, if you had a device or if you had a microphone that actually didn't output a lot of audio, or has a very low signal to noise ratio, and you actually needed a extra gain and boost, you could first come here and boost this up, and then if that, in addition, you could also come here and boost this up as well. But so the other day, I showed you guys when I use the mixer, I use this right here. This is a dynamic mic preamp, and I keep them on deck. So if you ever run into like any kind of low noise ratio microphones, which usually would be dynamic microphones, which people use for podcasts, you could use that. But one of the great things about this mixer is that it actually eliminates the need for you to be able to have to use that, because I can just pop it up right here, boom, and boom. So you actually wouldn't need a dynamic microphone preamp, because this right here does it all for you. So, I just wanted to kind of show you guys that. Also, too, it does have different effects right here. I'm actually not going to go into the effects because I don't want to change any of the effects. It has compression, processing on your microphone. It has de-esser, noise suppression. I don't really use any of that stuff, only because, again, I have a background in audio engineering, specifically, studio applications, and a lot of that stuff I'd prefer to do myself, because one of the things about using any kind of effect inboard to this mixer is that it would ultimately be stuck on your audio unless you have some type of plugin that could take that effect off. So my thing would be, whatever effect I would want to put on there, I would just do it from my DAW, which would be the software that I would use to edit the audio to my podcast. I would just do it from there, or do it from DaVinci Resolve, which is what I use to edit my video podcast. So I wouldn't do it from here. So the only thing I would use this for is just to record any kind of effects that I would want to add. I would actually just do it from DaVinci Resolve, which is a video editing software. It's free. It's phenomenal. If you don't use it and you do video, you should go check it out. And I also use Studio One version 7 to edit my audio for my podcast. And again, any kind of effects that I would want to add on to my audio on my podcast, I would do there because it gives me more control. Again, if you put on an effect from this mixing board right here, and then you go and edit your audio and realize, oh, I don't like how that sounds, or you'd have to record your podcast all over again, or just stay with that sound, or you have to find some type of plugin to remove whatever effect you put on the audio. So for all of that, I'll just do it in post-production. Again, right here is for your headphones. It comes to go with channel 1. So whoever's on channel 1 would have his own headphones, channel 2, channel 3, channel 4. Also, too, it does also to record. I have some previous recordings up here. I actually won't. I don't know if those are copywritten or whatever. I'm saying that because it's some music from when I DJ. Sometimes I'll record my set when I'm just fooling around at home, and I don't want to play that music and get copyrighted in this video. But right here, you see right here, right? It says record. So right now, all the audio that I'm saying right now is being recorded. So in a moment, I'll hit stop. It'll have you to name it. And you can also make marks. You can also make marks in your audio. This does come with a audio editing software. They have their own audio editing software. I don't use it. Again, I'm more sophisticated. I use a more sophisticated DAW. But for those who don't use audio editing, or you don't have a video audio editing software, you could use the one that comes with this. You do download it online. It's free. It's fairly decent, I will say. But one of the things that's important one of the things that's unique about the software that is made for this mixer is that right here, let's say you made a mistake and you like, I want to cut that part out. You would just mark it here, boom. And so when you pull the software up, it'll actually show you on the software, the audio editing software, where the mark is at. So you know, oh yeah, I have to cut that out. Or maybe you say, you know what, I want to put have the music coming here, or I want to have a commercial coming here. Boom. You hit that mark, and now when you pull up your audio on the software, it'll have a mark for, yeah, let me insert the commercial here, or let me insert a music here. So it would be done automatically. So that's something that you could know what to do. Now, I don't think that is transferable if you use, if like myself, if you use a different software that's not native to this mixer, I don't think it will work then. I haven't tried it, but I'm sure it doesn't work. But again, I don't use features like that. I'm pretty good at just listening to audio, going in, cutting it out. I've been doing it for years. So for me, that's not really something that I care about. But again, for someone that's new to audio who is not really familiar with looking at wave files on a DAW, that will be extremely, extremely useful to you. So let me stop right now. Do you want to stop recording? You put yes, and it will have you to name it right here. You see the keypad comes up, and I'll just put YouTube test. YouTube. I'll just put YouTube because I don't know where the space bar is. So I'll put YouTube. So right now, if I wanted to hit this right here, and I want to find that audio that says YouTube right here. So if I hit YouTube, so right here, you see right here, right? It says record. So right now, all the audio that I'm saying right now, let me pause it. So you see that? And let's say you actually want to go in and see the audio or fast forward the audio. Now right here, let me just do it real quick. Right here, it says advanced. So you go to advanced settings and boom, you go right there and you hit right here, top of it right here. It's a play button. I'm sure you can't see it from the, cause the glare in the camera, cause I can't see it on the screen. So it says record. And if you see right here, it actually has where I marked the audio. See right here, where I was telling you before, right here and right here, it has the markers where I marked the audio while I was recording. And so I'll hit play right here. So right now, all the audio that I'm saying right now, and then I could fast forward. Now, one of the things I just realized that I didn't know before is that while I play this, no audio will come out of my mixer. So while ago I was trying to talk over the audio that's playing, and it actually wouldn't let any audio come out of my mixer. So which is kind of neat. Right now, I'm actually gonna end this demo part of it. I mean, again, it's pretty basic. Right here, it's a mute. If I hit that button, I was talking, you couldn't hear me, pretty self-explanatory. Or if you have other people talking, let's say you're doing a commercial break and you want to talk and you don't want anybody else to talk, you hit solo and it will solo your channel so that only you can talk. And you say, okay, the commercial's over. Now I'm gonna go ahead and unsolo my mic and boom. Also too, this is talkback. Let's say somebody was in another room with monitors and you didn't, let's say you guys didn't have monitors and they did, you can use this right here to talk to them, or they could talk back to you. I don't really fully understand how that function works. I've never used it, never had to. Most podcasters, again, are in the same room. So if there's anything that they need to discuss either before the podcast airs, or they can always stop it or pause it and say, hey, can you re-say this right here, and kind of go from there and start back recording. So this is a feature I haven't used, don't use. But again, if it's something that you need, definitely go for it. So I'm going to end this portion of the demo video. Again, the Tascam Mixcast 4. I did a review last week of the POW 4-channel mixer, and I actually had it in my podcast studio as a setup. And I was just telling you guys that, I bought it as a podcast mixer. Well, I did end up moving that podcast downstairs in my basement where I do all my editing, where I have my recording studio at. I don't really use it that much anymore as a recording studio. I just use it more so just to edit podcasts and videos. But in the video, I mentioned that I had that mixer as a podcast mixer, and people are probably like, well, why do you now have this right here? So I did end up switching out the POW 4-channel mixer, which is basically a basic mixer, for this mixer right here. And the reason I did that is because one of the features on the POW 4-channel mixer is that it actually has a slot for subwoofer, and I was really just playing around with that downstairs in my studio. And it does have a USB where you can connect it to your PC and be able to hear music back through your studio monitors if you once you hook it up to that mixer. And one of the features that it has that I fell in love with was that everybody who does recording, who records music, or who mixes and masters music, know that you always need a subwoofer, a studio subwoofer. I have a studio subwoofer for back in the day for when I used to do music. Like I said, I do music every now and then, but one of the features on that studio is that you can actually connect a subwoofer directly. It has a channel specifically for subwoofers. And for those who don't know, people might be asking, well, why does that matter? Well, it matters because normally, in order to hook up a studio subwoofer, you have to actually hook it up to the monitors, and then you feed those monitors back to the subwoofer, and that cable goes from the subwoofer back to the audio interface or whatever mixer you're using for your studio. So, but with that specific feature of having a studio subwoofer, or I'll say subwoofer channel, I just happened to hook that up to see, well, what it sounds like. And it gives me more control of the bass. And what that means is that because I have a channel directly specifically for bass or subwoofer, I can control the volume on my subwoofer. When your studio monitors are hooked up to your subwoofer, however loud you crank the volume on your monitors is how loud the bass will get on your subwoofer. So with that feature, I was actually able to disconnect my studio monitors from my subwoofer and put it in the mixer as monitors, and put the subwoofer on its own individual channel. So what if I'm editing audio? When I'm editing audio, I don't need to have a subwoofer. So sometimes when I'm editing audio, because a subwoofer is a speaker, you will still hear some audio from that subwoofer. But now I have the option just to turn it all the way down and still have my mixer. So that's why I kind of left it downstairs in my studio. So you know what? That is a great feature. So I just left it down there in my studio and just moved the Tascam mixer upstairs in my podcast studio. And so also too, because really, if I hadn't have done that, I wouldn't have reviewed the Tascam Mixcast 4, only because my basement, it's not really set up for me to record videos anymore, because it's mainly an office, and the background's kind of crazy, and I would have had to, which is what I ended up doing. But I would have had to disconnect all my speakers and everything just to do a review of this mixer. And to me, the juice just wasn't worth the squeeze. So because I ended up moving my mixer, I'm switching the mixers, I'm able to do that. So this is kind of why I say and I'll leave a review up above of the POW 4-channel mixer that I reviewed last week. Again, I originally got it to use in my studio, in our podcast studio, just so we can use these microphones, because before I didn't have a mixer. when we originally moved our podcast studio upstairs, we were using these microphones sometimes, but because I didn't have a mixer, I would have to be stuck on using these right here, using these lavalier microphones. So that's kind of my spiel. If you ask me who is this mixer for, I think because of the functionality and all the functions on this mixer, I think it's a podcast mixer. So if you're somebody who's getting into podcasts or want to venture in that realm, I think this would be a great podcast mixer. It's not really expensive if you compare it to the Rodecaster. I think it's about anywhere from $280 to $300+ online used. If you get it brand new, I'm sure you're gonna pay more than that for it. But you guys who watch my channel, you already know what I'm gonna say. I bought this thing used 2 years ago. It's still going strong, no issues. Buy it used. So that's who this mixer is for. For those who want to do podcasting and you only want to do audio. Now, if you want to do video, of course you can. You know, like I said before, I have this mixer hooked up to my camera right here, and I'm able to actually and you have to use 2 1/4" to 3.5 millimeter jack, which is a Y cable. It's called a Y cable, but you would put in 1/4" to 3.5 millimeter jack, or 1/4" to Type C, in order to because what it is that whenever you use a mixer to get audio into your camera, to use a microphone which is hooked up an XLR cable, you have to have it going on either a speaker or a monitor, because what it does is it picks up the outgoing audio. The microphone or me playing music, that's outgoing audio is going out. So you then have to figure out a way, a monitor, a speaker, or a headphone. Before, like I said, when I DJ'd on TikTok Live using my camera, I used the Y cable, 1/4" to 3.5 millimeter jack. I had it on 2 headphone, because you have to put it on 2 for left and right channel. So I put it on 2, channel 1 and 2, but for the headphones, and I cranked the volume up halfway, and I fed it to my camera, and it was able to pick up the audio that I use from my Rain 1 DJ controller. So, which leads me to my other point. If you're somebody who wants to if you want to feed the audio into your camera, if you DJ, you could also use this mixer for that. But again, I wouldn't spend that kind of money for this mixer just to do that. You could just buy the POW, which is the POW 4-channel mixer. You could actually probably just find a cheaper mixer than that, to really for the purposes of just putting audio into a camera. If I didn't already have this mixer, I wouldn't have bought it just for that, because this mixer does so much. It'd be a waste of the money and the features that this podcast mixer offers just to do it, just because I want to put audio into a camera while I DJ. For that, you can just buy a cheap mixer. Any cheap mixer would do that. So I think that the benefit of this is that if you are somebody that does podcasting and you are somebody that also DJs, you get to hit 2 birds with 1 stone. Also, too, again, if you're a musician and you play guitar or you play any kind of, I guess, drums, you could always mic up a drum set, and it records on board onto this podcast mixer. You can record on the podcast mixer, so you wouldn't even have to have another recording device. All you would have to do is this mixer. Yeah, I do have a SD card inside of it. I have a 128 gigabyte SD card. You do need an SD card in this mixer in order to record on board. And also, too, if you have to do a firmware update, which when I got it, I did a firmware update. You would put that firmware update on the SD card. So you actually do need a SD card when you purchase it, and you can get them cheap online, Amazon, or if you live near a Micro Center or Best Buy, go there, grab a SD card. I would say if you're just doing audio, you probably would be good with maybe a 16 or 32 gigabyte, because I already had this card laying around. I just used it because I already had it laying around. So that's who this mixer would be for. Again, this is a great podcast mixer. It's a great mixer for DJs and musicians, and it does a lot. It does a lot. Like I said, you saw the pads. The pads, they play different sounds. You can upload certain specific sounds that you may want to this. If you're a DJ and you want the 1, 2, 3, you can put that up here on you hit a pad and it goes 1, 2, 3. So that's excellent. If you're a musician and you want to maybe upload specific sounds, maybe like a drum or a drum repetition that loops, you can do that while you play the guitar. Again, if you're a podcaster and you want to hit the applause button, again, you could do that. Again, this is the Tascam Mixcast 4. It's a podcast mixer. It's a wonderful mixer. I think should you buy it, I think it's definitely worth the purchase if you're somebody that's going to be in the podcasting, and if you're doing other things like DJing and you're a musician. That's just two birds with one stone. It's definitely worth the cost. Again, compared to other podcast mixers, they all basically do the same. I think sometimes people get kind of carried away with names. Well, this ain't the Rode, or this ain't the Zoom. I've had the Zoom too. I had the Zoom mixer as well. Now, one of the things that I will say about the Zoom mixer is that the Zoom mixer actually ran on batteries. I have the Zoom Live, which is another podcast mixer, but again, I never used that mixer with the batteries. But it was great to be able to do that if you need to be. Again, Dale from Any Reviews. Thank you for watching the video. Please like the video. Please comment on the video, and please share it. It helps my YouTube channel and the algorithm. Until next time, peace.